All right, we're on vacation. It's Monday morning, and that makes it official. We have a long ride today. We plan to make it to Yellowstone National Park before dark. It's about 414 miles from East Glacier to Mammoth Hot Springs, our destination for today. Just like the other days, I didn't get many pictures of East Glacier the night before, so we'll have to take some before we leave.
This is the swimming pool, outdoors I should add. And as you go up, you can see the snow on the mountains. So walk this way. There, lots of snow on the mountains. That's the golf course, across out on the fairways. You can see the cross there in the camera, but the there's a real close up of one of the trees. Oh, here's the fireplace. That direction from this. This is on the way to Helena. Well, then roll it. Yeah, you roll it until it stops.
We passed directly through Helena on the way. This is a perfect opportunity to see the capital of Montana and to look for a camera shop. After considerable effort, we found the camera shop. The camera repairman actually seemed quite knowledgeable. After careful inspection of Karen's camera, the conclusion was that it was broken. Sure, he could fix it for a small fortune and in about 2 weeks. Did we want to wait? In reality, he was very explicit about the damage to the camera and very apologetic that the local police had taken his only part to fix it with. Chuck was the one that brought up a new camera, and Karen reluctantly agreed. She was back in business with Zoom, time, date, and everything. The remainder of the daylight hours were fairly uneventful. We snuck in the back gate, found our hotel, and checked in. Before we ate, we took a tour of Mammoth Hot Springs. Hot Springs, we went to Gardner to eat. We went to the same restaurant that Mary, Russell Hightower, Sandra Hightower, and I had eaten at several years earlier. That's where the evening began. They seated us tightly in the corner. Mary took a blood pressure pill. Mary was supposed to be taking 2 pills a day, both at the same time. Just before leaving on vacation, Dr. Liebert had been concerned about her blood pressure and turned her in to Dr. Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman had told her to take 2 a day and see him when she got back. She decided to do it differently. Mary thought 1 pill twice a day would work. Karen ordered a light meal because she said she wasn't feeling up to par. The waitress finally agreed to let Karen have just the salad bar and baked potato, even though it was quite irregular. When we all went to the salad bar, Mary looked rather strange. She indicated that she felt dizzy and not altogether there. I took her down to the car and she laid down for a while. Chuck joined us for a moment and left Karen as a deposit on our meal. The waitress delivered our meals with Chuck gone. Of course, Karen, the one that didn't want much to eat, was the only one still seated, surrounded by 4 meals. Mary got to feeling better and we finished our meal. Back at the hotel, Mary says she is feeling better and doesn't mind losing another tournament. We decide to simply play in the room. We get the table set up and have been playing for a while when Mary leaves her body again. You can tell right away because she looks very strange when she's gone. She tries to take her blood pressure, but it won't register. Chuck and I make inquiries about medical assistance. There's a clinic in Mammoth area, but it's closed. After hours, the Rangers act as EMTs, and there is a hospital at Lake Yellowstone. We go back to the room to report our findings and learn that Mary has taken another blood pressure pill. Nobody is asking about Karen at the moment. Mary has us preoccupied, but Karen doesn't look all that perky either. We are not in as good a shape as we used to be. When Mary's blood pressure didn't decline, we decided to call the Rangers. Pat arrived in short order, carrying his EMT equipment. He was very nice and professional. I'm sure it was the only time Mary has ever been medically examined by a person wearing a gun. Pat had radio contact with the hospital at Lake Yellowstone. The final diagnosis was that her blood pressure was too high and they recommended Mary see a doctor that night. The choices were wait until morning, go north to Livingston, or go to Lake Yellowstone. We chose Lake Yellowstone. But how were we going to get there? Again, there were choices. We could drive our own car, or we could take an ambulance. It was an hour drive through the wilderness and without any way to communicate if needed. We'll take the ambulance. We didn't leave right away though. One of the employees had fallen and hit his head. He was going to ride along so he could see the doctor too. Before we left, Chuck tried to get a room in Yellowstone Lake area to save us a ride back that night. There were no rooms for that evening. There were for the next day, but we already had one for then. We had to get from Mammoth Clinic, way up at the north end of the park, down through Tower Falls and Canyon Village to the Lake Clinic down at Yellowstone Lake. This was going to take about an hour. I rode in the cab of the ambulance with Mary and the other fellow in the back. Chuck and Karen followed in the van. Down the winding road, we sped towards the hospital. I soon learned that we were only going halfway. Another ambulance had started out from the hospital and was going to meet us halfway. Along the highway, I saw elk and bison. I later asked Chuck and Karen if they'd seen any. All we could see was the lights from the ambulance, Karen said. On the second leg of the trip, it was foggy and the girl driving the ambulance had to slow down. We finally pulled into the emergency room, and Mary was now going to have the entire staff of the hospital caring for her. That's right, except for the fellow that rode the ambulance with her, there wasn't another patient in all of the 7 rooms. The doctor said that Mary's problem was probably due to high altitudes. He gave her a diuretic and told her the results she could expect. Mary was to continue with her journey, not be concerned about a high blood pressure, be concerned about being too far from a bathroom or a thick bush, and eat bananas. We broke her out of the hospital about 3 a.m. and started back to the hotel. This is when we discovered that Karen had a migraine headache, sometimes brought on by stress. Now, what could have possibly stressed Karen out? We arrived back at Mammoth in time to get to bed by 4:30 a.m. Normal checkout was 11, but they said we could sleep in and check out by noon. A large spider was walking across the ceiling and made Mary concerned. We were all just glad that Mary had gotten to come back with us so that she could worry about the spider. Chuck killed it, and we went to sleep.